a sight for my soul.
Alright guys, I'm back with another watch review. Yes, it's long overdue. Sorry, I've been so hard to find the last year or so. Business travels got crazy, and I did shoot quite a few videos over with my friends at Bernard Watch, and I'll still do those, but my personal videos kind of got left along the way, and I'm going to start bringing them back today, and I'm rhyming. Side note, don't ever record videos in your personal office when people can walk by outside and look at you like you're an alien. Anyway, so we have another watch review, and as you guys may have picked up on if you've been checking out my Instagram, I picked up another Breitling Navitimer, and that's what this video is all about. Now, if you guys have been watching me for a while, you're going to be like, Anthony, I thought you already had a Breitling Navitimer. You would be correct. This is the fourth Breitling Navitimer I've owned since I'm an idiot who never learns from my mistakes. Long story short, we're going to be looking at the A13322 in this video review. Again, this is the fourth one I've owned. The first three I had various issues with, which I'll probably wrap up with at the end of this video. But enough said, I love this watch so much that I've bought and sold it 4 times. And this one I plan on keeping. So without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and we'll jump into that review. Alright guys, let's go and get started. So as I alluded to in my little intro there, this is the Breitling A13322. I believe with Breitling, typically the first 2 characters of the model number dictate the movement. So the A13 or the 13 for Breitling caliber 13 has always been my understanding of how they've done it. And Breitling caliber 13, that is a very funny name. If you know anything about watches, I guess you can probably figure out what caliber that might actually be. Those of you that have collected chronographs or are very much familiar with Swiss watches will recognize this dial layout as being very familiar. Any guesses? That's right. The caliber 13 is an alias for the ETA/valjoux 7750 with the traditional seconds at 6 o'clock here, the 30-minute counter up at noon or 12, and the 12-hour counter down here at 6, and the date aperture over at 3. Different versions of the 7750, the 51 or the 52, I can't remember. They also have a day of the week indicator over here as an option. That's what makes this watch actually kind of a great buy right now, because as it uses the older style caliber 13 movement versus the new B series movements, it can be serviced by just about anyone. This features, again, one of the most common chronograph movements in all of history. Breitling would have bought the Bosch for this movement and done some customizations to make it chronometer spec and just tighten it up a little bit. But in short, you have all the classic vintage Navitimer looks with this series, which was made from about, I want to say, 93 to 2002, somewhere in there. With the classic looks with the easy serviceability of just any other watch. The new Breitling movements, and I've detailed a couple on my channel before, the B series are incredible movements, but if you want to get them serviced, Breitling is your one-stop shop for service. So that's a particular reason why I went for an older style Navitimer, and having owned 4 of these, I've definitely tried every different flavor. It's about a 41mm watch, which I think is the sweet spot for a watch. It has, because it is a Navitimer, and I apologize, this camera's going to have a hard time with it, there is, of course, the slide bezel for doing calculations on the fly. I've talked about this in my other Breitling Navitimer videos. I don't want to really get into it here, but you can do all sorts of different calculations with this. You can calculate descent rate and speed and all sorts of stuff. It is bi-directional. You can rotate it either way, and as you line it up, you're able to do quick cross calculations very quickly. In theory, being a pilot watch, pilots could actually use this in flight, and I do know pilots that are trained to use it, but I highly, highly doubt any pilot would bother to use one of these today. But it is kind of a nice little nod to history. I mean, this watch has origins over half of a century ago, and if you guys have been watching me for some time, you know that I really think of this watch as a relic of the vintage age of aviation, propeller-driven aircraft in particular. When I see one of these watches, or I wear mine, I have the Breitling aerospace, or the Breitling airplane in my mind, the one that they sponsor, that beautiful old Super Connie. For those of you that aren't airplane aficionados, the Lockheed Super Constellation, it has 4 propellers, and when that thing starts up, it's poetry, it's mechanical poetry. And for whatever reason, the Navitimer and that plane to me, they really tug at my heartstrings. And this is just, one of those watches I can't live without. Every time I've sold it, I've bought it again later. So, you know, the Navitimer, what makes it so common, or what makes it so common, what makes it stand out is, of course, this slide rule bezel. Those of you in the comments will probably point out, if I don't, that there is another model out there by Zinn. It's also a Navitimer that looks very similar. Navitimer was actually sold off as the ability to Zinn to manufacture that in about the 1970s, I want to say. Breitling sold them the rights to do that. They are authorized to make that as well. But Breitling is the original. And again, this goes back well over half of a century. I believe its origins are mid-1950s, although I don't know off the top of my head exactly. As you can see, as I rotate it, there's a little bit of a blue haze. This is, of course, because it uses the older style AR coating, or anti-reflective coating. It's something you kind of get with Breitlings. I like it a lot, although it does tend to show if you got moisture on the dial and it scratches easily. But Breitling on these dials, I know some people absolutely hate this watch, and I can see why. There is a lot of print going on that dial, and it is extremely busy. And for someone like me who loves watches like Nomos, that likes very simplistic, minimalistic styles, and maybe you've ever been to my house know that I am definitely a minimalist at heart. I think some of you guys, you know, struggle to see how someone who loves minimalism could love a watch that's got such a busy dial. But I think it's because of, again, that heritage, that history that I think of the old airplanes. It feels, I don't know, it's like I'm touching a piece of history. There's just a tie to the past of this watch that I absolutely adore. As it is using the 7750 base movement, it is a standard chronograph. So again, 12-hour counter down here at 6, 30-minute totalizer up here at noon or 12, and you have a running seconds over here at 9. Traditional functions, start and stop with the one crown or the pusher up by 2 o'clock. Press it, there's a little, you see the seconds hand for the chronograph running, there's a little red tip on it, and you see it rolling around there. Press it again, it'll stop, and you press the bottom pusher to reset. Every time it ticks off a minute, this will click off 1 up here on the totalizer, and every half hour this little arrow down here will jump up to 12 hours, and then it will reset. Of course, there is a date aperture over here with Breitling style date font. I do love their date font. It's just one of those things that I think is just kind of unique to them. Rolex, everybody else does kind of have their own special fonts too. There's the beautiful little B logo over here on the bottom of the second hand as well for the chronograph. And it is, of course, mirrored over here as well in the Breitling gold B logo. Let me see if it'll focus a little bit better here. Yeah, that little raised logo right there for Breitling is beautiful. It's painted on the dial. It's not actually metal, and I like that. I love the gold contrast with black. Those of you like I that were born in the late 80s or even grew up in the 90s, you will, of course, probably remember those cars that had the two-tone paint schemes. I remember, for one, you know, seeing lots of cars and trucks in the mid to late 90s with, you know, a body color and then a trim color being different. I love the old trucks that were black with like the gold trim. And I know this is just the most random side note ever, but I do remember you know, like Chevy Blazers and stuff when I was a kid being black with gold trim, and for whatever reason this brings back fond memories of my childhood. This watch is just tugging at me emotionally for a multitude of ridiculous reasons. But anyway, this there's just a beautiful vintage looking style to this watch that I just think it just, I don't know, there's just something about it that just calls to me in ways that I really just don't fully understand. Navitimer on the dial, Swiss made down here, and it says automatic as well. And it is automatic. Those of you familiar with the 7750 would know. Side profile, you have a little sign B on the crown. Show it here. There's the B. The Breitling case is all pie polish, which is kind of a Breitling trademark, as you would expect. One of the things you probably don't expect unless you've held one, though, is just how incredible Breitling bracelets are. I've said it before and I'll say it again, they make the best bracelets in the business. These things, I remember when I was talking to Federico a couple of years ago on a live chat, he was mentioning what a pain these things are to size. They are. These things come apart in multiple little sections, and there's little pieces you have to slide in between. They are a pain to size, but I tell you what, these things are like butter. They are so fluid. I mean, it's just ridiculous. This is the most comfortable bracelet I can ever imagine. I mean, just look at this. I can just stack the links up because this thing is just, love this bracelet. It's my favorite bracelet on any watch ever. And it's just kind of the Navitimer style bracelet. I just absolutely love it. It does come with this pretty nice fold over clasp as well. It's marked Breitling. Model de Pissé manufacturer in Suisse, or Swiss. I'm not going to bother to pronounce it, and feel free to correct me if you want to. Breitling on the buckle. There's your little signature Breitling B. And on the case back you have a conversion chart as well, and the model number A13322, and Breitling raised on the case back. And by the way, of course, you do have the little micro adjustments as well on the clasp to extend the bracelet. So I don't want to make this too long of a video. As you can see, I love this watch so much, I'm just kind of drooling all over it as I talk about it. I also am a sucker for panda dials, so any watch that has black and white contrast is just my kind of thing. I've seen recently Breitling's extending their Navitimer line to even non-chronograph version watches, and I'm a traditionalist. It makes me kind of sick, but I'll probably look back in 10 years and respect them and like them too. But this, to me, you know, Breitling makes a lot of models. I've reviewed a lot of their models. I've owned several of their models, and I like the Breitling range in general. I love the Super Avenger. I've had a Colt. I loved the Colt. And you know, there's a lot in there, but to me the definitive Breitling is the Navitimer. This when I think of Breitling as the watch I think of, much like many think of the Omega Speedmaster to Omega, or the Rolex Submariner, a date just for Rolex. This is Breitling to me. I adore this watch, and if I ever come to the point where I sell this one, God knows I'll end up with another one. So I can't live without it. It's an addiction. Let me go ahead and show it to you guys real quick on the wrist. Pop it open. Yeah, fold it on here. It's a little formal for, you know, going to the beach in, but, you know, as a nice everyday dress watch to wear to work, I just think it looks beautiful. I think it looks sophisticated. I think it looks timeless, and I just love the way the light catches that in that panda dial. I'm lusting after it on my own wrist, and I own this thing. Awesome watch, and I would highly recommend one to any of you guys looking for a Breitling as well. With all that said, guys, let's go ahead and jump back. All right, guys, there you go. Here's the Breitling A13322. God, these model numbers are so boring. They should come up with something better. Anyway, cool watch, and I should know I've owned a few of them. All that said, guys, it is awesome to come back to you on this channel, to get back into vlogging, which is a passion of mine that I don't know. I freaking love doing this. And it's awesome to be back here out in your community. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, if you're new to my channel, please subscribe and click the bell icon always. Sometimes you guys may not get notified when I actually do put out those new videos. But again, thanks so much for tuning in, guys. By the way, random aside note, thank you guys again so much as you've been checking out my other channel, link to it below, Coach J. Anthony, my motivational speaking channel. Motivational speaking is something I'm extremely passionate about, just getting into it from a YouTube perspective, but I've been doing my best to help people going through difficult circumstances for as long as I can remember, because I want to help people avoid the mistakes that I've made. Most recent video I put out there was on how you can overcome anything. And I used the example of losing what I thought was the love of my life, and some examples of people that I've met and come across along the way who have overcome terrible things in life. So if that resonates with you, please do check it out. If it resonates with people you may know, please share the link. Talk too much. Great seeing you guys. Thank you guys so much for the support. If you like the video, please give me a thumbs up. If you have a comment, I'd love to read it. Let me know what's going on down below. All right, guys, you know the drill. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care, and I'll see you real soon.